I know everyone's asking this question. If I ask 10 people in here what they think DevOps is, I'm going to probably get 12 answers. Everyone has their own opinion, everyone has their own thoughts on what DevOps is. Personally, I like the one from Adam Jacob, who's co-founder and CTO of Chef, although they're not called Chef anymore, I don't. So he said, DevOps is a cultural and professional movement focused on how we build and operate high-velocity organisations born from the experiences of its practitioners. So if you just break that down, we're talking not a person, we're not talking a job role, we're talking about an organisational culture. It's how you actually do things, it's not a job description. And it's about how you move fast, it's how you deliver value, how you deliver outcomes. And as we all know, a lot of that is down to automation. Another thing that often defines DevOps is the acronym CAMS, or CALMS. Someone introduced an L into it. Again, culture, automation, measurement, sharing. L for lean, just a nod to the agile movement. But again, we're talking about automation tonight. So, what sort of thing do we automate? Application builds. Yeah, people have been building software for years. It's boring to do it by hand. So we've had Makefiles, we've had Jenkins, we've had TeamCity, we've had all manner of different ways of building software for a long time. So that's nothing new. Building hardware, virtual hardware. You know, VMware has been around for donkey's years, way before cloud came along, and various other virtualization technologies. So we can also have that. Software deployments. You know, we don't like downloading MSI installer files and manually clicking through a wizard-style installer anymore. So we do lots of automations there. Testing. Who likes doing testing? You've got your Excel file full of runbooks of different tests that you're going to run through for user acceptance. That's just boring stuff. We can automate all of that. Configuration management. We've got tools like Chef and Puppet and Ansible and SaltStack and all of these wonderful tools. You can automate all of the configuration of your software. You can stop configuration drift. You can ensure your environments are all aligned and using the same setups. What about monitoring? Instant response. How do you respond to an outage, or how do you respond to a disk filling up? You know, I may kick off a purge. A lot of software nowadays actually has capabilities of triggering automated runbooks or scripts. PagerDuty, if it gets an alert, not only can it notify you, but it can also run some remediating actions and stuff. There's all sorts of automation that can be done within the realms of what we might term DevOps. I like to show this slide. Has anyone not seen the periodic table of DevOps stuff before? There are so many things out there nowadays. Different types of applications, different toolings. It was originally done by Zebia Labs. Zebia Labs is now part of Digital AI. If you haven't seen it before, do Google it and have a look. It's an interactive one, so you can't see it on the screen here, but if you mouse over it on their website, it pops up all sorts of other stuff. Boring stuff. So the title of this talk was Automating the Boring Stuff. What do I consider boring stuff? Well, I've gone down a long list of things we could automate. For me, I've got to say SSL certificates. I did test them. One client I went to work for, it was a completely manual process, and to the point that they actually had an in-house authority. They used Vernafi. It was on an isolated network. You could only get to it by terminal session onto another machine, and it was horrible. And is anyone not familiar with the process of creating SSL certificates? It is very convoluted if you do it by hand. You have to start by creating a public key. You then have to create a certificate signing request. You then ship that off to your certificate authority, and depending on who you're using, that might come back straight away. You might have to wait for an email to come back. Then you get certificates back, but that's not where this story ends. You then have to, depending on what system's going to use the certificate, bundle it in different ways. It might be a Java key store, it might be a pen file. It's big stuff. So what can we do about that? Nowadays, things have moved on quite a lot. I've got to say, I don't do this anymore. This is boring. Most certificate authorities nowadays will have an API. You can use that API to automate it. And so I mentioned that this client I was working for was they used Vanafi. It's an in-house internal certificate authority. The person that set it up hadn't even enabled the API on there. So the first thing we did, we talked to them and said, give us access to the API. Let me at least try and poke it and prove that I can send these certificate signing requests through in an automated fashion. So yeah, I had to go through a lot of security reviews and get them to sign off because this is running on their Active Directory controllers. But yeah, they gave me access in the end, and I proved that I could actually automate this first part. The problem was that it was being done on a remote machine, not a machine where the certificates needed to be. So we then had to automate the rest of it, and so yeah, we worked out a bit of Ansible, talked to the network people, got some ports opened up, had a lot of risk assessments and all the sort of things that the security people like to do. But yeah, we eventually managed to automate this, and from literally when I first joined the project, it was taking me 3 solid days with manual. Copy and paste this, copy and paste that. We actually managed to run through a complete infrastructure build, probably about 60 odd machines, double the number of certificates because it was using mutual TLS, so we needed client certificates as well as cert certificates. That 3 days came down to about 5 minutes when we automated it, and that's getting rid of the boring stuff. But there is a better way. Has anyone not heard of Cert Manager? I thought this is going to be an easy talk. You all know Cert Manager. Who doesn't use Cert Manager? If I just got everyone asleep now. So, Cert Manager is a Kubernetes operator. It works by specifying some Kubernetes resources, and it then does the boring stuff for you. It will talk to a number of different certificate authorities. Vanafi's up there. That made my day when we started moving to a Kubernetes deployment, because I said, we've got access to this API now, let's get Cert Manager to do that hard work that we were automating with the Ansible scripts. It works with a whole bunch of other resources. It's open source, so if it doesn't support your certificate authority, chances are you can write a little plugin, it will work for it. But it will generate the certificates for you. It will package them up into Kubernetes secrets using whatever format you need. And it will work with web TLS certificates, MTLS client certificates, even service meshes. It's a brilliant little tool. And all you need to do is provide it a few bits of information. You give it the DNS name you want, you tell it what issuer you're going to use, that's defined as the previous bit of information, and you say what you're going to use it for. And it goes away and does all the rest. Oh, and the secret name you're going to store it in. The next thing you know, not only is it talked to, in this case, Let's Encrypt, it's retrieved the certificate, it's stored it into a Kubernetes secret for you, but it also knows when it's going to expire. So, who has suffered a TLS certificate expiring on their website? Or some back-end server, the TLS certificate's expired, and all of a sudden things stop working. This does it for you. It knows when the certificate's going to expire. Usually 30 days or so before the expiration date, it will automatically renew and refresh that certificate for you. I really recommend, if you're using a Kubernetes environment and you're not using Cert Manager, go and have a look at it. Everyone uses certificates nowadays. It's the done thing. So have a look. But it's even better than that. If you're using ingress controllers on Kubernetes, all you need to do is add one annotation to your ingress. Cert Manager will do the rest of the work for you. It can see that it's going to use that issuer. It can see the host name, the secret that it's going to use, and it will go away and actually do everything you want out of the box without you having to do anything else. So, I'm going to do a little demo.
Do you mind? We used this in the last project I did. It's absolutely awesome. But sometimes it will get stuck. So we had a PagerDuty alert to check the amount of time left before the expiry of the certificate. So if it did get stuck, it would kick off an alert and say, hey, your certificate's going to expire in like 3 or 4 days.
I would never recommend just leaving it to chance. You're still going to want to monitor your production systems and make sure your certificates don't expire. Absolutely, 100%. But if you've got a system that will do most of the work for you, use it. So, yeah, we're going to do a quick demo. I've already got a little deployment running on the Kubernetes cluster. We're going to add a new ingress to it. You can't read it, I apologise. I don't think you can even read it on the monitors on the side of the room. I'm going to deploy an additional ingress to the same back-end pods with a new DNS name. When I put these slides together, I was actually running on a different tool, a different tech stack, but we've got external DNS running on here, and when I was doing the slides, I was using GoDaddy as my DNS provider. The demo is actually going to be on AWS, so we're using Route 53, but yeah, same thing. External DNS, another great tool. If you're not using it, have a look at it. And then Cert Manager is going to kick in, it's going to see the ingress, it's going to go off, go to Route 53, not GoDaddy, and it's actually using DNS to verify the domain rather than the HTTP method, and generate us a little certificate. So, bear with me as I flick out of these slides. And so, of course, it's much bigger resolution on my actual screen in front of me than I've got on here. So, let's hopefully we can see this. So, I might even have to close one of these down because we can't see them all. Bear with me. So I'm using PodInfo just because it's a nice easy one. It's already running on DNS entry that you can see up there, exposed behind an Amazon load balancer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a new ingress over the existing deployment. That's what the ingress looks like. So we're going to create a new DNS entry, Tech Talks, DevOpsConsultant.guru, and a nice valid certificate to go with it. So let's see how this works. Demos. Here we go. Right. So we've got an ingress. Kubernetes has done its thing. We've got the ingress is associated an address with it, which means in the background XLDNS is going away and setting up the DNS entry for us. We have a new certificate. In fact, it has already created the certificate while I was looking at the ingress. So that was the original certificate for the PodInfo site. It's created a new secret for the Tech Talks TLS, which means if the DNS is propagated already, we can even go to a website and see if it works. I love it when a demo works. So as we can see, we've got the DNS entries working, and we've got a valid certificate. Connection is secure. It's happy with the certificate. It's all looking pretty good. And if you wanted to try it yourself, hang on, let's get the right thing back again. Oh, go back. If any of you want to point phone at that URL, you should also be hitting the same site. Ta-da! So yeah, certificates using Cert Manager, using external DNS. Literally, in the space of me talking about one ingress controller, it's done all the work. It's created a new certificate. It's created a DNS entry, and we've got a new exposed endpoint to our website. If anyone wants to have a look at the tools I mentioned, those are some URLs there. Also, if you go to my GitHub page, all of the links that are on the slide here and on my next deck are also in a readme on there. So don't worry about taking a photo. Just remember my GitHub URL, and you can have a look at that later.